It's 1.5 miles long, but he's given me an abridged edition. I find a few things that are fascinating in Karl's history. He speaks Mandarin, yes, I hope. Is that true? Yes. So those of you that speak Mandarin in the room, give it a try. He's an expert in China and India. He's been traveling the world for 20 years, specifically in ICT, selling products, giving speeches, and educating. He knows a lot about the Asia Pacific Rim. He's probably one of the experts that we should listen to.
Selamat datang. Apa kabar? Namaste. 感谢。各位中国人、马来西亚华人，大家欢迎参加今天的演讲。今天的演讲题目叫做 Mobile WiMax, Evolving Fast in Asia. Today's presentation will focus on mobile WiMax evolving very rapidly in Asia, where it came from, where it's going to. Again, my name is Karl Weaver. I'm a wireless market mobile device specialist. I focus on the ODM and OEM handset manufacturers in Taiwan, China, South Korea, Japan, and India. So this is today's agenda. I know it's quite long, and I have over 30 plus slides. I normally go in rapid fire motion. Please follow me. So what's going on in the world today with mobile WiMax? This gives you just a picture of some of the major countries involved in mobile WiMax. South Korea, Japan, United States, obviously with Clearwire Sprint, and Japan. The real key here is the uptake in 2010, which is expected in mobile WiMax. WiMax has absolutely come of age in Asia. I track these various countries that are either trialing, testing, or have deployed fixed, and of course with South Korea, Wibro, mobile WiMax. But there are other initiatives going on as well. The key point is that WiMax and mobile WiMax is not going to be used for just one segment of the population. In fact, you have a prosumer mobile content demand in Japan, South Korea, Taiwan. Singapore would probably be included in that. So that's one type of mobile WiMax user. Another is wireless broadband for small towns. This is where WiMax fixed and mobile are going to make a play. And then also personal broadband for wireless ISP services. So when you think about the WiMax markets, think about, just like in the mobile device space, think about the various types of users. It's interesting to know that many developed nations in Asia have no DSL or cable services. None. And 3G and HSDPA, it is too expensive. Let's get beyond the hype. It's expensive. WiMax is going to supply a cost-competitive data pipe for applications. Key. Content applications. Where are they coming from? I'll show you some of the vision for where I think they're coming from. Now this is a worldwide wireless broadband WiMax deployment thus far. Okay, if I don't have one of them on there that you can see, let me know at the end of the presentation. But I try to follow this stuff. Let's talk a little bit about Dragonships. What do I mean by Dragonships? Well, generally speaking, Dragonships, you can't buy them in 7-Eleven, no. Basically, Sequens, Besim, Runcom, these are the major companies now which are taking their WiMax chips into Taiwan and into South Korea, and they're generating the demand to build the WiMax devices that you're going to ask for before you spend and plop down all this money on WiMax services. First of all, you want a nice looking, compelling device. You want that device to last a long time. You want that device to provide you a unique user experience. Build it, they will come. But if you don't have the devices that you're looking for, why invest? So that is, services and the devices are really what's slowing down WiMax, mobile WiMax right now. Again, there are a bunch of companies there that are involved in Intel. Intel is being a little passive right now. basically letting some of these smaller players pave the road with the development of mobile WiMax chips. Make no doubt about it, Intel expects to be a major player in the quote-unquote mobile device space in the future. And anybody remember Wintel? And don't forget about Microsoft. Wireless broadband, basically mobile internet devices, they're going to help to drive adoption, just like they have for 2G, 2.5G, and 3G around the world. The portability and the mobility of these mobile devices, it's very different across countries, cultures, regions. And I say WiMAN and man and WAN are not the same as yin and yang. I'm not really much of a comedian. But with wireless broadband, there is a technology market convergence going on. We must recognize and realize that. As it goes on in our lives, we're consumer society workers, all of us. Internet access, as you can see here, is really the key behind all of these wireless technology. Everybody wants the mobile internet. So we move on. So we know that the United States, the largest developed market for wireless technologies, is rolling out mobile WiMax, Sprint, Nextel, Clearwire, 20 minutes from my home. But it's also going in a large portion into Africa, Middle East, Asia in a big way, China, India. Oh yes, China. It's going into China, and I'll explain why. Let's talk a little bit about Malaysia. Now, I've only been here for a day and a half, less than 2 days, so I'm not an expert in what's going on in Malaysia, but I do try to ask some questions. Basically, you have four companies that have deployed, or let's say they have licenses for 2.3 gig frequency range. I was wondering about that. Why 2.3? Why 2.3? Well, spectrum allocation. Well, Samsung obviously is a very key vendor. Maxis has actually tested a mobile WiMax system, and so has Jaring. Anyway, I want to move on because I'm still trying to figure out Malaysia's mobile WiMax initiatives. Let me talk about India. WiMax, why not? Right now, India, but Bharti Airtel, BSNL, they are supplying fixed WiMax services. They're going to encounter the same problems that you guys encounter with how do you generate the money? How do you generate the revenue? Where's the content? Where are the services? Where are the mobile devices? So what I want to say is the reason why mobile WiMax, the reason why WiMax in general makes sense in India is because, again, do you think that they're going to be able to put fiber in the time frame that's needed for 7 million subscribers, mobile subscribers per month? No way. No way. So they are putting fiber in, absolutely. They've been doing that since year 2000. I worked with a company, the largest cable, fiber optic cable vendor in India, Phoenix Cables. I don't know if any of you remember this or know this company. Bottom line is fiber's going in, but fixed WiMax and mobile WiMax in India is going to have a huge impact in the society. It's going to change the society. If you build a mobile WiMax, a mobile broadband vision, users will buy it. Now, the first year that they said that, the South Korean companies only had 10,000 users, but now they have 20,000. And now the projection is 200,000 by 2010. Is that hype? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. But if you look at the progression, Samsung took advantage of a technology that matured from Washington State. Oh yes, all of this technology has its origins in Washington State. Where am I from? I'm from Washington State, okay. So it's appropriate that I'm here talking to you about WiMax. Wibro's challenge though, and this is important for Malaysia, Wibro's challenge as it is for South Korea and as it is for China, which is, are they going to be able to build a global roaming belt for services? Can they do it globally? We don't even have global interoperability, really, yet, right now. We don't have it. So, enough about that. Let me move on. This is interesting. Oh, Samsung strikes a Wibro deal in China. Well, that's interesting. Why? Why? They cannot build enough base stations, either WiMax or Wibro, to accommodate the demand coming from the global market. You know how many base stations Sprint is going to want for a nationwide deployment in the United States? Tremendous, tremendous. And look at what's going on in all the other countries. So, basically China, KT Lee, who's been instrumental in WiMax development, KT Lee has basically been working with Hubei officials, Hubei China. And Samsung's one of the major, again, as I said, one of the major suppliers for Sprint's 4G WiMax network. Samsung can basically set up wide-band facilities in China without commercial agreements. So that's very, very interesting. China is going to make this equipment. Taiwan and South Korea are the major players right now for infrastructure as well as the mobile devices, but China will have a play. So China is going to gain a stake in producing WiMax equipment. It has to. They make everything in China. So China has basically been very secretive for the past 2+ years talking about WiMax. Oh, we don't know what this is. No, that's not true. They've been testing it extensively for 2+ years. Backhaul in the 3.3 or 3.4 gigahertz range. They've been using it, but not in a huge way. But they've been testing it, and they will deploy it during the 2008 Olympics. They have commercially, they have announced that they will use this technology. And the key, of course, is TD-SCDMA is holding WiMax hostage. This is all part of China's techno-nationalism, which is to promote their own indigenous IP-created wireless technologies. So it's being held hostage, but it will play a role in the Olympics. Now Intel, well, what is Intel saying about Samsung and the Wibro and China? Intel is feverishly, and I mean feverishly, trying to convince the Chinese government to deploy WiMax and mobile WiMax in country, and to change the frequencies to allow 2.5 gig frequency range usage for mobile WiMax in China. They're trying to do the same thing in India. The 3 largest wireless markets for subscribers in the world today are China, the United States, and India. Oh yes, oh yes. Now, what's interesting to note is that Intel will establish the WiMax industry in Wuhan, and this company called Airway Communications Group, basically they are going to deploy it in 16 provinces. Previously, Intel had reported wanting to set up a WiMax business in Chengdu and Dalian, but they didn't get the support of the government. Oh no, that's a no-no. No government support, you don't do that. So you see, everything in China will rely on what the government wants to happen. The government wants to first promote TD-SCDMA and eventually WiMax during the 2008 Olympics, and that's the progression. I want to talk a little bit about the history of WiMax. Did anybody ever hear of a company called Karl Cellular? Does anybody ever hear of this company? Anybody ever hear of AT&T Wireless? Well, AT&T Wireless had this vision for fixed wireless, and they tried to test and deploy it in Washington State in 1999. They failed, they laid off 1,000 people. Of those people they laid off, many went to work for various other corporations. Intel, they went to work for some other types of organizations down in Oregon and up in the University of Washington. Now, in 2001, I came across a company called Broadstorm Wireless. Anybody ever hear of this company, Broadstorm? This company was the first company to sell OFDM-based equipment. Before, when there was even such a thing as the 216, DOM. They deployed this equipment in China. So China has been feverishly looking at this technology, and they've actually gone a separate path and tried to develop their own WiMax type solution. Oh yes, they have a WiMax type solution. And that company didn't survive. They went bankrupt in 2005. It was bought by a company called Adaptix. Has anybody ever heard of this company? They have a lot of IP. They have a lot of IP. Expect this Adaptix company to work with another company, because IP is the name of the game. And basically, this professor, Dr. Hui Liu, was a professor at the University of Washington, Seattle. He basically had the early vision for this way back in the year 2000. But even before him, Craig McCaw had a vision for broadband wireless. Intel, Sean Mahoney, had a vision for broadband wireless. All this meshed in the Pacific Northwest, Seattle, Oregon area. That's why Clearwire is in Kirkland. That's Craig McCaw's baby. Enough of history, let's move on. WiMax competing with Olympic Go. Basically, as I mentioned before, China has this thing called McWill, and they want to promote it. Basically, everything will be determined by the government of China. Some conclusions about WiMax in China and also what we term 4G. Let me move away from China now. This is basically a timeline. You might be interested to note when TD-SCDMA and when WiMax is going to be deployed in China. Now, let's talk about global interoperability. Let's stick together. Yeah. It is my perception that for mobile WiMax to gain a foothold in the world today, the three major subscriber markets for population in the world today must operate at a particular frequency range. I'm going to say 2.5 for the lack of any other frequencies, because the United States is going to deploy 2.5 Sprint Nextel Clearwire. 700 megahertz, what's going to happen there? I can't tell you. What I can tell you is that China has been feverishly testing mobile WiMax and fixed and mobile WiMax, both. India has been testing fixed WiMax. It is my opinion that for this triangular situation to occur, all three of these countries must deploy in 2.5. Anybody ever hear of this company, ZTE? So they've been very, very active around the world, but especially in developing markets. And they keep their WiMax headquarters in Shenzhen and also in San Diego. And they have now won Sprint's PCMCIA business for the CPE equipment. And basically look for these Chinese vendors, ZTE, Huawei, UT Stockholm, to provide full infrastructure equipment for mobile WiMax, fixed and mobile WiMax usage. They have 802.16d and E. WiMax in your pocket. Now here's where we have to talk about theory, trends, vision. My vision basically is that today we see devices with WiMax built in UMP, automobile PCs, and they're coming. If you go to South Korea, you can see these devices. Really, the future, in my humble opinion, is with a smartphone-like PDA device that not only does 3G voice. Voice is going to be very, very cheap. It's not going away. There's no way that cellular technologies are going away. However, Wi-Fi is not going away either. That's unlicensed. And WiMax. So I predict in the future, and I think Intel is right in line with this, they're coming out with a Montevina chip. This Montevina chip will allow basically this kind of integration of technology. So it really is moving from portability to full mobility. When? 2008, maybe? You cannot have mobile WiMax until you have the devices. The devices are not ready, but the South Koreans and the Taiwanese are developing it right now. China and India will be huge markets for deployment, and also China and India will do the manufacturing eventually of this technology. That is the future. Now, Wave 2 chips are required for MIMO and beam steering technologies. Now, back in 1998, 1999 frame, I worked for a company called MetaWave Communications. MetaWave was the only major company in the United States that had smart beam steering technology. Nokia also had this technology. Samsung, Nokia, these are two very, very major companies that have been, in the very early stages, have been in WiMax development, WiMax technology development. Let me move on. WiMax CPE device explosion. You can see here that in 2007, Clearwire has confirmed that they will use this Nokia ultra-mobile PC in their network. Expect all these types of devices to start proliferating in the market, especially in the United States first, and then other countries like Taiwan and South Korea. So when is it taking off? It's actually taking off right now. What kinds of devices? You can see here, computers, notebooks, smartphones, PDAs. And this may seem like hype, but it is not. It is not. It's happening. 4G shaping up in 2008. What is 4G? It hasn't been defined? Not really, not yet. And you have three camps now. You have the Intel 802.16m, eventually you've got the ultra mobile broadband, that's Qualcomm, and now you have Light, Ericsson. Again, you have all these external forces determining these protocols. Key will be OFDMA. Key for mobile devices will be MIMO. MIMO is required on the base station side and on the handset side. So if you want to talk about mobile WiMax, Sprint requires MIMO technology. Otherwise, we don't have a complete solution. So anybody here who's looking at developing mobile WiMax, look at MIMO technology implementation. Let's talk about Taiwan. Interesting. I know you had a speaker yesterday talk about Taiwan. Let me talk a little bit more about why Taiwan is deploying this technology. Well, basically, around 2003, 2004, the Taiwanese government noticed this huge amount of investment leaving Taiwan for China. You know, I'm not sure if you're aware of this. Taiwan is the largest investor in China. A company called Honghai, Foxconn, is the largest exporter in China, but it's a Taiwanese company. So when you look at the situation, the Taiwanese government saw all this money leaving the island, and they said, wait, we have to put a stop to some of this. So what they did is worked with Intel, because Intel was pitching WiMax to Asia. They were pitching at this time. The Taiwanese government said, this is a way to put investment from our multinational corporations back into Taiwan, build the next infrastructure for the information age, and voila, we have the M-Taiwan project, which is a very interesting project. I think you must watch what's going on in Taiwan for the future of what will go on here. And let me move on. So here's the blueprint. They call it the modern life. So you're looking at the blueprint for the modern life as the Taiwanese see it. And Taiwan right now, as you are aware, has WiMax in the city of Taipei. Eventually, they expect to have these dual mode networks, Wi-Fi, WiMax, and of course, the entire backbone, linking the entire backbone with M services, M learning, and M life. So this is the M-Taiwan vision right here. M life, M services, M learning. We heard yesterday from one of the speakers about services in Taipei. That's very interesting for companies here to watch. Go back. So these are some of the applications, as I mentioned before. Go forward. I'm not sure what that is. It's a cyber attack. M-Taiwan service trial schedule, basically 2008 timeframe, much of Taiwan will be deployed. These are the licenses that, this is very interesting to watch. These are the licenses for Taiwan. And basically, everyone was surprised that Chunghwa Telecom did not get a license. The major wireless 3G service provider in Taiwan did not get a license. That's very interesting. I think it was on purpose. First of all, they don't want the north or the south of Taiwan. They want the entire island. Next year, there'll be nationwide licenses. Taiwan's only a 300-mile island. It's a half-quarter of the size of Malaysia. But the interesting thing here is that these companies here are partnering now. Oh, I don't have the north, give me the south. They're partnering. This is what the Taiwanese government wanted. They wanted these non-traditional companies to partner and create new business solutions, new blood, new innovation, where maybe Chunghwa Telecom doesn't have this creative thought process as some of these other companies for services that they want to deploy. So it's a very interesting strategy, and I think it may be one of the reasons why the Malaysian government, 5 minutes, okay. One of the interesting reasons why the Malaysian government selected 4 companies in 2.3 gig frequency range, which are not really that traditionally known as cellcos. Okay, if you look here about Chunghwa Telecom though, they are going to be knocking on your door, trying to sell to you services for WiMax. They're going and using Huawei in China to bundle infrastructure equipment, and they're coming your way. Watch out. They'll be knocking on your door. So they're partnering. So basically, because they want to keep this technology onshore, the Taiwan government wants to make Taiwan the showcase for mobile WiMax technology in the world today, just like the South Korean government wants. And they may get there. There's a lot of partnering going on in Taiwan right now. Intel has put 2 testing labs in Taiwan. Obviously, Taiwan wants the world to go there to show its services, its deployment of services, its infrastructure, its mobile device developments. This is some of the development status. So this is exactly what base stations are. This is not up to date, but pretty much. Now here's my conclusion. The global market for mobile WiMax equipment is going to be huge. CPE equipment. Southeast Asia is evolving very fast from fixed to mobile WiMax. There's trials going on all over, as I've shown you, all over Asia. Frequency allocation questions will be overridden by the huge interest in mobile WiMax, and redeployment will occur. The major delays include development of devices and portable and profitable service types. The US, China, India must deploy mobile WiMax technologies for global interoperability. Maybe other countries will follow. Smartphones and converged devices and many form factors and segmented markets will appear with this dual tri-mode solution. By 2008, mobile WiMax will utilize Wave 2 chipsets to support both MIMO and beam steering, quote-unquote, those smart antenna technologies. WiMax dual mode UMPCs, mobile internet devices, handsets, they're on the horizon, and they're coming from Motorola, Samsung, Nokia, ZTE, and all of these Taiwan ODMs and China companies, South Korean companies, Japanese companies are also involved, and eventually probably Indian companies. Mobile WiMax devices in various form factors will begin to appear first in South Korea and Taiwan, and then migrate into China, India, and the rest of Southeast Asia. South Korea and Taiwan will lead in the initial R&D though, and China and India will follow. That's my presentation today, and I hope it was controversial, because I love that. Thank you.
I think first of all, it looks like Asia is going to be the development hub for WiMax. I had felt it was going to be the US just given the large rollouts, but from a development and handset CPA standpoint, it looks like Asia is going to be the center. It looks like Taiwan should be something for our WiMax colleagues in the room. Keep a close eye on Taiwan. Maybe we can jumpstart our rollouts and our understanding of the technology by learning what they are doing. I truly believe, along with Karl, that all of these technologies are going to find their way on a chipset. And I think that if they don't, we're going to have a real problem with interoperability and moving and making roaming work. So I look for the manufacturers to make sure that these technologies find their way onto a chipset and that we get a roaming forum going. Otherwise, we're in big trouble. So thank you very much, Karl.
Very good presentation.
Did you like it?
I liked it very much. That was very good market study of all Southeast Asia WiMax.
I was trying to gather
It was
everything.
very, very good, and also we go to Malaysian market, very good.
Yes, give us all your presentation.
I enjoyed being in Malaysia. I think this is a fantastic country. Thank you.